Hi there, Rick with Smart Drive Test, talking today with Bill Walker. He's working in the oil fields. He's a former student of mine, and we're going to ask some questions to give you some idea what it's like driving truck in the oil fields in Alberta.
The oil fields in Alberta. If you're thinking of going, you may want to think again. It's pretty interesting. It's nothing like I thought it would be. My visions of penny loafers and polo shirts driving down the road, no, not so much. Leather work gloves, coveralls, big boots, rubber boots. Yeah, quite a bit of that. Slipping and sliding around the mud. Yeesh. Up the hills, down the hills. I don't know. We can get into that later, I guess.
So how long have you been in the oil fields now, Bill?
Well, I got my license on September the 6th. It was 2013. That was a Thursday.
Yep.
The following Tuesday, I was in Grand Prairie, and I was hired that day and went to work actually Wednesday morning, the day after. So I've been working in the oil field for, a year and 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you said to me when you and I trained together a little bit over a year ago that you were planning on retiring. So you're a bit older than most people who are working in the oil fields.
I'm way older. I'm an old fart in a young man's world. There's just no question about it. Yeah, I'm 63 years old. And the whole idea was to go up and spend the last 3 years of my working life making bigger money.
Right.
I mean, it's the only reason you go to Northern Alberta. Believe me, there's no beaches up there worth going to. You're going up there to make money.
Yeah.
And so that's why I went. The surprise was, though, I mean, I've driven everything but truck over the years.
Right.
I wasn't prepared. I was mentally not prepared for how hard it was going to be.
Right. So, and you and I have had some conversations on Facebook, and we've got together for coffee over in the interim periods you've been back in Vernon. And you told me a few times that there were some serious points that you were not going to continue on.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe if you're younger, it's easier to handle. I'm not sure. But, I mean, quite frankly, just being scared spitless.
Yep.
Most of the time right up until we started in September. We got a decent September. October was not too bad. It wasn't even a real muddy fall.
Right.
But then it got cold.
Right.
And then came the ice, and then come the snow, and there you are at 5:30 in the morning at 47 below, laying on your back, beating on the bridge on the inside of the brake drums, trying to get the brakes thawed out. And
right.
It's like, what am I doing? You know, why is this? And so, yeah, that was weird.
So trying to get equipment to do something that it's not designed to do, working in sub-zero temperatures is...
Well, yeah, and if you don't, and then that'll become the water in the system, I mean, somebody will tell you at some point in time you should drain your tanks. You should drain your tanks, because when it gets at 47 below, it ain't liquid anymore.
Yeah.
It gets all through the system, and then you're up there trying to pour antifreeze down the gland hands, and you're freezing, and it's, but it's tricky, and it's just so much to learn, and for one, checking. If you've ever seen those ribbons that hang out the inside of the wheels on a wheel, they're bolted on like one of the studs, and this plastic ribbon comes out and hangs out about this far.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and you know what they're for?
No, I don't.
Well, you look down the mirror, and if they're all moving, it means you don't have a frozen wheel.
Right.
And it's just that simple. If you got one that's not moving, and it's hard to tell if you're on ice, it is hard to tell that you don't, but you don't really want to do it on the pavement. They call it skidding, and it sort of goes through two tires pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we had a similar thing when I was hauling multiple axle trailers. You had to drop the axles and make sure that they were all turning before you took off in the day. Yeah. And it was part of your pre-trip, right? You did a little serpentine and made sure all the wheels were turning.
Yeah, got your backup lights on so you can look in your mirrors and see your wheels.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because most of this stuff is happening in the dark, right?
Well, it's dark up there most of the time in the wintertime. I mean, it doesn't get light until after 9 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Right now, and it's by 3:30 on a cloudy day. By 3 o'clock, you're pretty much done.
Yeah, yeah. So now you said that you were having difficulty getting equipment going, but also just being scared working on bush roads and putting chains on all the time and driving in mud and snow and ice.
Yeah, it's Loaded B train is 63,500 kilograms.
Yeah.
140,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's just not as much fun as you think when it all goes sideways down the road, you know. Yeah, I mean, it may look neat from some other point of view, but well, when you're behind the wheel, it's scary. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what scared me the most, really. Whether the highways, yeah, I think, and today I really do think I'm when it gets really icy out on a highway, that's probably what I like the least.
Right.
In the bush, well, there's just a whole different bunch of things that you're dealing with when you're out in the bush. You're dealing with roads that are 2 lanes wide. They are 2 lanes wide. They're not 2.5 lanes wide. So you need to know exactly where your wheels are.
Yeah.
You know, because you're probably running your right wheel 6 inches from the cliff.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
You know, at least when you got somebody passing. And the mud up in northern Alberta, it's so slippery, and it's a different kind of slippery than the ice. It's almost like it owns you.
Yeah, right.
It'll pull you. It will. I've seen trucks parked on the middle of the road, or almost on the middle of the road, and there's a crown to it, and the guy gets out to talk to the guy ahead of him. The trailer slides in the ditch. It just on its own. The guy's nowhere near it. It didn't move for 5 minutes. The trailer slides in the ditch. You go, oh, cool. And they don't like trailer sliding in the ditch. They frown on it. I don't know.
So when they do slide in the ditch, there's equipment around that can get them pulled out.
Yeah, everybody helps each other. You've got big fat toe straps in the
Right.
truck, or I've got a headache rack on the back with chains, which you don't really want to use anymore. But if you had to, you had to. But
Yep.
I would hook onto the guy and pull him out of the ditch, or
Yep.
a loader would be there, or somebody's in trouble, somebody stops to help. There's kind of an unwritten rule in the bush,
Yep.
that if you're in trouble, the next guy's going to stop. And it's so busy out there.
Yeah.
You just can't believe how busy it is out in that. Well, not so much now, but it was really busy. It's like rush hour traffic
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere. It was crazy.
Hi there, Rick. Talking today with Bill Walker about working in the oil patch, talking about working in sub-zero temperatures during the wintertime, working in mud and snow and ice, and working for long hours, and all in the attempt to retire with a little bit more money in his pocket, and giving you some insight about what it's like to drive truck in the oil patch on really thin, narrow roads. One of the things to keep in mind with Bill is that Bill went right out of driving school with no experience working in the oil patch. And I would say that myself, with all of the driving experience that I have, over 2 decades of driving experience, even if I was to go to the oil patch and begin working, I think it would be an eye-opener for me. For somebody who had no experience driving truck up to that point, I think it would have been just a bit of a shock to the system. And as he says, scared spitless. I'm Rick with Smart Drive Test. Thanks for watching. If you like the channel, subscribe below. Hit that like button. Have a great day, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great day. Bye now.